Dad, can I share with them? My daughter saw an orc mother who could only buy one meal. It was supposed to be just another Tuesday. Nothing special. No plans. I had picked up my daughter from school. She had tossed her backpack into the back seat, the way she always does, like it personally offended her, and I asked her the same question I ask every single day. How was school? Fine. That was the whole conversation. Same as always. She is 7. That is the full vocabulary she gives me on most days. We were both a little hungry, so I pulled into a fast food place near our neighborhood. Nothing fancy. The kind of place where the seats are hard plastic, and the fries are either perfect or completely cold. No middle ground. We had been there 100 times. I knew exactly what she was going to order. She knew exactly what I was going to say about the prices. We got our food and found a table near the window. She immediately started arranging her fries into little rows before eating them. She has done this since she was 4. I have never once said anything about it. Some things you just let be. I was eating and half thinking about something from work, just zoned out the way you do when you are tired. And then she stopped moving. Not dramatically. She did not gasp or grab my arm. She just went still. And when my daughter goes still, I pay attention. I looked up from my food and followed her eyes. 2 tables over, there was a woman sitting with 3 small children. She was an orc. Broad shoulders, gray-green skin, and the kind of quiet composure that takes a lot of practice to hold on to in public. Her children were young, I would guess somewhere between 4 and 9 years old. 2 girls and a boy, from what I could tell. They were all leaning over one tray. One meal. 4 people. They were carefully splitting it between themselves, tearing the sandwich into pieces, counting out the fries one by one. Nobody was crying about it. Nobody was complaining. The kids were just doing it, like it was normal, because for them, it probably was. The mother was watching them. She had her hands folded on the table, and her back was straight, and her face was calm. But her eyes were a different story. There was something in her eyes that I recognized immediately, even though I had not seen it in a long time. It was the look of someone holding something very heavy and refusing to let anyone see them struggle under the weight of it. I know that look. I have worn it myself. My daughter reached over and touched my hand. Dad? Yeah? She pointed. Not obviously. Just a tiny movement of her finger under the table, in the direction of the other family. She looked at me with these completely serious eyes, the way she looks when she is asking about something she already knows is important. Can I share with them? I did not say anything for a second. Not because I did not know the answer. I knew the answer immediately. But I wanted to think about how to do it right. Because here is the thing about helping people. It can go wrong. Not the helping part, but the how of it. You can walk up to someone and make them feel seen and cared for. Or you can walk up to someone and make them feel small. The difference is not always obvious from the outside, but the person on the receiving end knows the difference instantly. That mother was sitting there with her back straight and her chin level. She was not asking for help. She was just trying to feed her children and get through the afternoon with her dignity intact. And I wanted to help without taking that dignity away. So I thought for a moment. Then I told my daughter, yes, but we do it together, and we keep it simple. I got up and went back to the counter. I ordered another full meal, an extra burger, a large fries, and a couple of juice boxes. When the food was ready, I brought it back to our table and put it on a fresh tray. I did not make a big deal of it. I did not tell my daughter what to say. I just handed her the tray and gave her a little nod. She carried it over herself. Now here is the part that gets me every time I think about it. She did not walk over there nervously. She did not look back at me for reassurance. She just walked, the way children walk when they have not yet learned to second-guess themselves. And she set the tray down on the edge of their table. And she said, completely casually, like this was no big thing at all, "We got too much. We cannot eat all of it." That was it. That was the whole thing. We got too much. We cannot eat all of it. The orc mother looked at the tray. Then she looked at my daughter. Then she looked across the restaurant at me. I just gave her a small nod. Nothing more than that. She looked at me for a moment longer, and then she nodded back. It was one of those moments where 2 people communicate something real without either of them saying a single word. Something like, I see you. You are not invisible. Your children deserve to eat a full meal. And I am not doing this to make myself feel good. I am doing this because it is just the right thing to do. Her children did not wait. They reached for the food immediately. the way hungry kids do, and there was this sound of them eating and talking quietly among themselves, and the youngest one, this tiny little girl with 2 pigtails, grabbed a fry and held it up like she had just won something. My daughter watched all of this for exactly 3 seconds. Then she turned around and walked back to our table and sat down and picked up her own food like nothing had happened. I just looked at her. "What?" "Nothing," I said. "You did good." She shrugged in that way she has, like compliments are slightly embarrassing, and went back to her fries, still in their little rows, still eating them one at a time. We finished our food, we drove home. We talked about something completely unrelated. I think it was about whether or not a particular cartoon character could beat a different cartoon character in a fight, which is the kind of deeply serious debate she enjoys. The afternoon moved on the way afternoons do. But then, somewhere on the drive, she went quiet again. And after a minute she said, "She was trying really hard, wasn't she? The mom." I kept my eyes on the road. "Yeah," I said. "She was." My daughter nodded slowly, not the nod of a child who has been given an answer, the nod of a child who is quietly putting something away somewhere inside herself, filing it, keeping it. I reached over and squeezed her knee once. She let me, and then she went back to looking out the window. I have been thinking about that afternoon ever since. Not because it was dramatic, it wasn't. Nobody cried, nobody gave a speech. It was maybe 4 minutes out of an entire day. The kind of small, quiet moment that does not make the news and does not trend anywhere, and probably no one outside that restaurant even noticed. But I noticed. I noticed that my daughter did not need me to explain why it was the right thing to do. She already knew. At 7 years old, she looked at a family sharing one meal, and her first instinct, her very first instinct, was not to stare, not to point, not to ask loud questions, but to want to help. That did not come from nowhere. I would like to take credit for it, but honestly, I think children teach themselves a lot of the most important things just by watching how you move through the world. You do not give them lectures about kindness. You just try to be kind, as often as you can, in front of them, and hope something sticks. Something stuck. And the other thing I keep thinking about is that orc mother. The way she sat, the way she held herself, the way she split that one meal between 4 people, and did not make her children feel ashamed of it for even 1 second. That is not a small thing. That is actually one of the hardest things a parent can do. When life is difficult, and resources are tight, and the world is not being generous with you, to still sit up straight and be calm, and let your children eat without the weight of your worry pressing down on them. That takes a kind of quiet, stubborn love that most people never even see. I saw it. My daughter saw it, and I think that is worth something. I do not know that woman's name. I do not know her story. What brought her to that moment, what she was dealing with, where she was headed after that meal. I probably never will. But for one small Tuesday afternoon, our lives crossed paths for a few minutes in a plastic seat fast food restaurant, and something real happened there. Something my daughter is going to carry with her for a long time, and maybe that is all any of us can really hope for. Not the big moments, not the grand gestures, just the small quiet ones, the ones where you squeeze somebody's knee once, and you both already know what it means.